The Okafor family home stood tall and proud in the quiet neighborhood of Enugu, Nigeria. 12-year-old Amara Okafor loved her spacious bedroom with its violet walls and the view of the mango tree outside her window. Her parents, Dr. Chioma Okafor, a respected pediatrician, and Mr. Nnamdi Okafor, a university professor, had created a warm, loving home filled with books, music, and laughter. When her parents hired Kelechi Nwosu as their new house help, everything changed. At first, the 25-year-old man from a neighboring village seemed polite and hard-working. He cooked traditional dishes that reminded Mrs. Okafor of her grandmother's recipes and kept the compound immaculately clean. "We're lucky to have found such a responsible young man," Mrs. Okafor told her husband one evening as they prepared for their hospital fundraiser. Amara, however, felt uneasy around Kelechi. Something about his eyes made her uncomfortable, the way they followed her when her parents weren't watching, how his smile disappeared when they left the room. Amara's best friend, Ngozi, visited after school most days, but lately, she'd been making excuses not to come over. "I don't like how that man looks at us," Ngozi whispered during lunch at school. "It makes my skin feel cold." Amara nodded. "I've told Mama, but she says I'm being unfair to him because he's new." At home, Amara tried to stay in her room when her parents were out, but Kelechi always found reasons to disturb her, asking questions about her schoolwork, bringing snacks she hadn't requested, standing too close when speaking to her. Her older brother, Chidi, had left for university in Lagos, and Amara missed his protective presence. She began keeping a small diary, documenting Kelechi's behavior, the inappropriate comments, the accidental touches, the way he'd enter rooms without knocking. Mrs. Adeyemi, their elderly neighbor, noticed the change in Amara's demeanor. Once a vibrant girl who played basketball in the street with neighborhood children, she now walked with her shoulders hunched, her eyes downcast. "Little butterfly," Mrs. Adeyemi called to her one afternoon as Amara hurried past. "Why don't you spread your wings anymore?" Amara paused, tears welling in her eyes, but she couldn't find the words to explain. That evening, as her parents prepared for an overnight medical conference in Abuja, fear gripped Amara's heart. "Must you both go?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Her father ruffled her braids. "It's just one night, Amara. Kelechi will take good care of you." As their car disappeared down the dusty road, Amara felt a heaviness settle in her chest. She locked her bedroom door and placed her chair against it, just like she'd been doing for weeks. Outside, the sun began its descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and red. In the growing darkness, Amara clutched her phone and diary close, knowing she couldn't hide forever. The morning after her parents left, Amara woke to the sound of knocking on her bedroom door. She'd barely slept, drifting in and out of anxious dreams. "Amara, your breakfast is ready," Kelechi called, his voice unnaturally sweet. "I'm not hungry," she replied, her throat dry with fear. "Your mother said I must make sure you eat before school," he insisted, rattling the doorknob. Reluctantly, Amara removed the chair and opened the door a crack. Kelechi stood there with a tray of food, but no smile. His eyes were cold, calculating. "You think you're very clever, blocking the door like that," he said, pushing his way into her room. "What would your parents say if they knew how disrespectful you are to me?" Amara backed away. "Please leave my room." Kelechi set the tray down hard, spilling tea on her schoolbooks. "I'm tired of your attitude. Who do you think you are? Your parents trust me, not you. If you complain, who will they believe?" The verbal harassment continued as Amara prepared for school, Kelechi following her from room to room, criticizing her appearance, making veiled threats about what might happen if she continued to disrespect him. At school, Amara couldn't concentrate. Her teacher, Mrs. Bankole, noticed her distraction during mathematics. "Amara, are you feeling well?" she asked softly as the other students worked on problems. The genuine concern in her teacher's eyes almost broke Amara's composure. "I'm fine, Ma. Just tired." During lunch break, Amara sat alone until Ngozi joined her, sliding a chocolate bar across the table. "You look like you need this more than me." Amara broke into tears. Between sobs, she confided in her friend about Kelechi's escalating harassment and her parents' absence. "You cannot go home alone today," Ngozi declared firmly. "Come to my house. We'll tell my mother everything." Mrs. Oluwasi, Ngozi's mother and a social worker, listened intently as Amara recounted the past weeks. She wrote notes, asked gentle questions, and finally pulled Amara into a warm embrace. "You were very brave to tell us," she assured her. "This is not your fault, and you are not alone." Mrs. Oluwasi called Amara's aunt, Auntie Folami, who lived across town. Together, they developed a plan. Auntie Folami would pick up Amara's essential belongings from the house while Kelechi was sent on an errand, and Amara would stay with her until her parents returned. When Auntie Folami arrived at the Oluwasi home, her face was thunderous. "He suspected something. He followed me around the house, asking questions about where Amara was. I've never liked that man." That night, Amara slept fitfully in her cousin Zainab's room. For the first time in weeks, she was physically safe, but her mind raced with fears about confronting her parents, about not being believed. Zainab, sensing her cousin's distress, held her hand in the darkness. "Remember what Grandma always says, the truth is like a baobab tree, it cannot be embraced all at once, but it stands firm." Dr. Chioma and Mr. Nnamdi Okafor returned from their conference to find Amara missing and a stern-faced Auntie Folami waiting in their living room. Kelechi had been strategically sent to the market. "Where is our daughter?" Dr. Chioma demanded, her medical conference badge still hanging from her neck. "She is safe," Auntie Folami replied, her voice unwavering. "Which is more than I can say for her in this house with that man you've employed." The accusations shocked the Okafors. Mr. Nnamdi's first reaction was disbelief, then anger, not at Kelechi, but at what he perceived as exaggeration. Amara has always been sensitive, imaginative. Kelechi has been nothing but respectful when we're home. "When you're home," Auntie Folami emphasized. "Did you not notice how your daughter has changed? How she has become withdrawn, fearful?" Dar. Chioma sank into a chair, recalling small moments, Amara's reluctance to be left alone with Kelechi, her sudden quietness, the locked bedroom door she'd attributed to teenage privacy. "I want to see my daughter," she whispered. Across town at Mrs. Oluwasi's home, Amara sat with her diary open, reading entries to the social worker who documented everything. Mrs. Oluwasi had called Detective Taiwo, who specialized in cases involving minors. "You're doing very well, Amara," the detective assured her. Her kind eyes and gentle demeanor put Amara at ease. "Each word you share helps build the case." When Amara's parents arrived, the atmosphere was tense. Dr. Chioma rushed to embrace her daughter, but Amara stiffened, hurt by her mother's initial disbelief. "I told you something was wrong with him," she said quietly. "You didn't listen." The pain in her daughter's voice pierced Dr. Chioma's heart. Mr. Nnamdi stood awkwardly by the door, shame washing over him as Detective Taiwo presented the documented pattern of harassment. "Sir, your daughter has shown remarkable courage," the detective said. "Many adults wouldn't have had the strength to speak up as she has." Mr. Nnamdi knelt before Amara, his academic pride dissolving into remorse. "I failed you as a father. I should have protected you, believed you. I am so sorry, my daughter." Mrs. Oluwasi outlined the next steps, a formal statement at the police station, a restraining order against Kelechi, and counseling for Amara. The detective explained that such cases often went unreported because of fear, shame, or disbelief from family members. "What happens to Kelechi now?" Amara asked, her voice small but determined. "He will be questioned, and if there's sufficient evidence, arrested," Detective Taiwo explained. "Your testimony is crucial, but you won't have to face him. That evening, the Okafor family stayed with Auntie Falami. As darkness fell, Amara heard her parents talking in low, angry voices, recounting warning signs they'd missed, blaming themselves. Auntie Falami sat beside Amara on the porch. Your parents are good people who made a mistake. They trusted the wrong person and didn't listen when they should have. But they love you, and they're fighting for you now. Amara nodded, watching fireflies dance in the garden. I'm still angry with them. As you should be, Auntie Falami replied. Healing doesn't mean forgetting or pretending it didn't hurt. It means finding a way forward, even with the scars. The police arrived at the Okafor home just as Kelechi was preparing dinner. His confusion turned to fury when Detective Taiwo presented the allegations. He denied everything, claiming Amara had misinterpreted his fatherly concern and that the family was ungrateful for his dedicated service. But the evidence mounted: Amara's detailed diary, corroborating statements from Ngozi about Amara's distress, testimonies from neighbors who had witnessed Kelechi's inappropriate behavior toward Amara when her parents were away, and most damning, text messages he had sent Amara that clearly crossed boundaries. Detective Taiwo was thorough and methodical. She discovered that Kelechi had worked for 2 other families who had dismissed him without explanation, families who now came forward with similar accounts. The case moved surprisingly quickly. Prosecutor Funmilayo Adebayo, known for her unwavering commitment to cases involving children, took personal interest. Many people don't understand that harassment doesn't have to be physical to cause deep trauma, she explained to the Okafors. The constant fear, the feeling of having no safe space, these can leave lasting scars. Amara began therapy with Dr. Judith Mensah, a child psychologist who specialized in trauma. Their sessions were challenging but healing. Some days I'm angry at Kelechi, Amara confessed during one session. Other days I'm angry at my parents for not protecting me, and sometimes I'm angry at myself for not speaking up sooner. Dr. Mensah nodded. All those feelings are valid, Amara. Healing isn't linear. Some days will be harder than others. At school, Amara found unexpected support. Mrs. Bankole organized a workshop about personal boundaries and safety, without singling Amara out. Several other students began to share their own experiences with boundary violations, creating a community of support. Principal Okonkwo implemented new education programs about safety and consent. What happened to Amara has opened our eyes to gaps in how we protect our children, he told the staff. The court proceedings were difficult. Although Amara didn't have to face Kelechi directly, giving her statement was emotionally exhausting. Mr. Nnamdi took leave from the university to attend every hearing, sitting straight-backed and solemn. Dr. Chioma threw herself into researching childhood trauma, determined to better understand what her daughter was experiencing. She joined a support group for parents and became an advocate for believing children when they report uncomfortable situations. As doctors, we're trained to look for symptoms, to diagnose problems, she told the group. But I missed the symptoms in my own home. Now I'm learning to truly listen. Gradually, the Okafor home began to heal. They moved temporarily to a different house while they renovated their home, symbolically cleansing it of the painful memories. Amara chose new colors for her bedroom walls, a bright, hopeful yellow that reminded her of sunflowers. Chidi returned from university, consumed by guilt for not being there to protect his sister. Amara, in an act of tremendous maturity, reassured him. You can't blame yourself for something you didn't know was happening, she told him. But you can help me now by just being my annoying brother again. 1 year later, Amara stood before an assembly of students at schools across Enugu, sharing her experience as part of a new educational initiative on personal safety and speaking up against harassment. Now 14, she spoke with confidence that inspired others. Silence protects the wrong people, she told the attentive audience. Your voice is your power, even when it shakes, even when it whispers. Kelechi had been convicted and sentenced to prison. The case had created ripples throughout the community, prompting more rigorous background checks for household employees and more open discussions about creating safe environments for children. The Okafor family had transformed through their ordeal. Dr. Chioma now volunteered at a center for trauma survivors, offering medical services. Mr. Nnamdi had developed a university course on ethics of care and responsibility. Chidi was studying law, inspired by Prosecutor Adebayo's passionate advocacy. Amara's friendship with Ngozi had deepened through shared experience. Together, they started a school club called Speak Up, creating a safe space for students to discuss difficult situations and get resources for help. "You saved me," Amara told Ngozi one afternoon as they worked on posters for their club. Ngozi shook her head. "You saved yourself. I just stood beside you." Mrs. Adeyemi, the elderly neighbor who had noticed Amara's changed behavior, became like a grandmother to her. She taught Amara traditional weaving, and during these peaceful sessions, shared wisdom about resilience. "Our ancestors knew about trauma long before there were fancy words for it," she told Amara. "They understood that community healing is as important as individual healing." Auntie Folami had moved closer to the Okafors and often joined them for Sunday dinners, the family bond strengthened through crisis. Dar. Mensa had helped Amara understand that her experience, while painful, did not define her entire life. "You are not what happened to you," she reminded Amara in their final session. "You are what you choose to become." There were still difficult days. Amara occasionally had nightmares or felt anxious when reminded of that dark period. But she had developed coping strategies and the confidence to ask for support when needed. At the end of her speech to the school assembly, Amara read a poem she had written. "Fear told me to be silent. Courage taught me to speak. Pain wanted me broken. Strength showed me how to heal. Darkness tried to define me. But I am made of light. A beacon for others. Finding their way through night." The applause was thunderous. Teachers wiped away tears, and students lined up afterward to thank her or share their own stories. Detective Taiwo, who had attended the speech, embraced Amara. "You've turned your pain into purpose," she said proudly. "That's the greatest victory." As the Okafor family drove home, a comfortable silence filled the car. The journey of healing was ongoing, but they moved forward together, stronger for having faced the truth, committed to protecting others from similar harm. Amara watched the city pass by through the window, remembering Mrs. Adeyemi's words from that difficult time, "Why don't you spread your wings anymore, little butterfly?" Now she knew the answer. Sometimes wings need to fold in protection before they can open again in flight. And hers were now spread wide, soaring toward a future she was helping to shape, one where voices like hers would always be heard, believed, and honored.